Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the news on Tuesday. It is now 11:30, and this is MDS Hussain with you. Let's go through highlights the headlines of today's news. United Nations Aviation Gathering opens under shadow of cyber attacks, geopolitical tensions. Technology is easing global aviation but remains vulnerable to attacks. CA consoles family of estranged Bangladesh origin NY police officer Didarul Yunus handed over a crest to the family members of Didarul as a mark of respect to him. Who recognizes Palestine? Who doesn't? And why does it matter? NCP leader Akhtar Hussain under attack in United States. Eggs were thrown at him, and he was subjected to abusive language. Tasnin Jara writes on FB. Belgium Queen, ex-British Prime Minister, meet CA. Trump to meet officials from Muslim-majority countries to discuss Gaza. The news about Bangladesh. Army Chief of to Malaysia for Indo-Pacific Conference. Chief of Bangladesh Army General Waqar-ud-Zaman left Dhaka for Malaysia, started to attend. Nothing works without money. Government appointing members of and Islamic Party as DCS SPs Rizvi. BNP Senior Joint Secretary General Ruhul Kabir Rizvi started alleged that the interim governments Bangladesh prepared for free fair polls in February, Yunus tells us envoy. During talks with Sergio Gore in New York, Chief Advisor highlights Bangladesh election preparations. 35 Dhaka University's researchers among world's top 2% scientists. SUST lifts ban on student politics with restrictions in place. Shahjalal University of Science and Technology SUST has lifted its long-standing ban on student politics. Bus workers of 3 northern districts go on strike. Workers of Dhaka bound buses from Rajbari Shirin violence. Another arrested in murder case. Police arrested on more suspects on Sunday night in connection with a murder during a clash outside Nurul Paglas Darbar Sharif in Rajbari's Gwalanda Upazila. The arrestee Shajib Sheikh, 24 years old of Natunpara, Uzanchar village, was arrested from his home around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. 12:30 a.m. started during a drive by Gwalanda police. Confirming the arrest, Mohammad Sharif Al-Rajib, Additional Superintendent of Police, Crime and Operations, said CCTV footage showed Mijanur involved in looting at the Shirin. He was later identified and detained in a case filed by Azad Mullah, father of victim Russell Mullah. The case includes charges of grievous assault, looting, arson, murder, examining a body from a grave and burning it. The police official said, with this arrest, the number of people held in the Russell murder case has risen to 9. In total, 26 suspects have been detained so far in 2 separate cases spilled over the incident, according to the police. On September 5, hundreds of people attacked the Darbar Sharif, exhumed the body of Nurul from his grave and set it on fire. The headlines of Asia's news. Pakistan police find bodies of 3 transgender women. Pakistani court indicts man over teenage influencer killing. A man accused of shooting dead a 17-year-old TikTok star at her home in Pakistan after she had repeatedly. Nepal's ousted Prime Minister calls for probe into deadly youth protests. Blast kill at least 11 in southwestern Pakistan. Suicide bomber drove into a in a paramilitary convoy. India expects KSA to respect mutual ties. India yesterday said it hoped Saudi Arabia would keep in mind mutual interest and sensitivities between. India yesterday said it hoped Saudi Arabia would keep in mind mutual interests and sensitivities between. Ex-Nepal Prime Minister Oli blames infiltrators. Nepal's deposed Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli yesterday said about the government did not order police. Afghan boys snakes into planes. Landing gear reaches Delhi. A 13-year-old Afghan boy traveled from Kabul to Delhi by hiding in the landing gear of a Come Air flight. Two held in India over trafficking Bangladeshi girl. India's National Investigation Agency called NIA searched 5 locations in Kolkata and Bunga in West Bengal and arrested 2 men for their alleged involvement in the trafficking of Bangladeshi girl. Officials said today they arrested Dua Amir, Ali Sheikh and Amal Krishna Mandal are from the North 25 Parganas district in West Bengal. And National Investigation Agency of India statement said the victim was trafficked into India on the pretext of employment and was forced into exploitation. It said the search operation resulted in the seizure of a huge amount of Bangladeshi, Indian and other currencies and documents. Let's come to the world news. Macron recognizes Palestinian state at landmark United Nations summit. Saudi FM calls for all countries to recognize Palestinian state. Palestinian president calls for Hamas to surrender weapons. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas called Monday for Hamas to surrender its weapons to his forces. Trump believes Palestinian recognition rewards Hamas. White House. Donald Trump believes the recognition of a Palestinian state by key allies including Britain. Gaza carnage. Trump to meet global leaders at United Nations General Assembly. President Donald Trump is set to hold a series of high-stakes meetings at the United Nations this week. Trump to slam globalist institutions in United Nations speech. White House. Trump expected to link autism with Tylenol, a claim highly debated. Administration expected to suggest. French President Emmanuel Macron officially recognized a Palestinian state at the United Nations on Monday, spurring a wave of Western moves to defy Israel in making the landmark, if symbolic, move. Macron is speaking at a summit that Israel and its chief baker, the United States, did not attend, called for an end to the war in Gaza. The time for peace has come, as we are just moments away from no longer being able to seize it. Macron said in an address in the General Assembly, the time has come to free the 48 hostages held by Hamas. The time has come to stop the war, the bombings of Gaza, the massacres and the displacement. Macron, however, said France would not open an embassy to an Palestinian state until a ceasefire is in place in Gaza and all hostages released. The Palestinian Authority hailed France's historic, courageous decision and its delegation gave him a standing ovation. Australia, Britain, Canada and Portugal also recognized a Palestinian state, piling pressure on Israel as it intensifies its war in Gaza. Monaco, Belgium, Andorra, Malta and Luxembourg then all recognized from the General Assembly podium, bringing the total number of recognitions the 3/4 of United Nations membership. Spain, Ireland, and Norway already recognized a Palestinian state in May, and Sweden did not so in 2014. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed not to allow a Palestinian state, and for right members of his cabinet have threatened to annex the West Bank to make statehood impossible. Israel's United Nations ambassador Danny Danon said Israel will take action. They are not promoting peace. They are supporting terrorism, he said. United States President Donald Trump believes recognizing is a reward to Hamas, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres told AFP ahead of the summit, "We should not feel intimidated by the risk of retaliation." Palestinian Authority presses Hamas. The war was unleashed when Hamas attacked Israel from Gaza on October 7, 2023, bringing relentless counter-attack by Israel. An independent state would be centered around the Palestinian Authority, which exerts limited control in the West Bank and is the rebel of Gaza-based Hamas. Israel has sought to minimize the distinction between the two, and Washington is an unusual step, refused to allow Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to attend. The 89-year-old veteran Palestinian leader forced to address the summit, but cheerily called on Hamas to surrender its weapons to his Palestinian Authority. "We also condemn the killing and the detention of civilians, including Hamas actions on October 7, 2023, he said. France co-hosted the summit with Saudi Arabia, which has flirted with normalization with Israel, a top goal for Netanyahu. The Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Faisal bin Farhan told the summit that concluded late Monday that all countries should follow suit and recognize a Palestinian state. Limited practical effect. Germany, Italy, and Japan, while all critical Israel's actions in Gaza, are among major United States allies that declined to recognize a Palestinian state. A negotiated two-state solution is the path that can allow Israelis and Palestinians to live in peace, security, and dignity, German Foreign Minister Johann Wadepool said. Britain, which begged a Jewish homeland in 1917, said it would back up recognizing a Palestinian state if Israel agreed to a Gaza ceasefire. Instead, Israel launched a massive new campaign aimed at seizing Gaza City, but recognition, while historic, is unlikely to change facts on ground unless backed up by concrete measures. Recognizing Palestine as a state risk becoming a distraction from the reality, which is an accelerating erasure of Palestinian life in their homeland, said the International Crisis Global Israel Palestinian Project Director Max Rodenbeck. The October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel resulted in the deaths of 1,219 Israelis, mostly civilians, according to official data. According to official data, Israel military operations since then have killed 65,344 Palestinians, mostly civilians, says the Hamas-run health ministry figures the United Nations considers reliable. Thank you everybody, and thank you for today's news.